Money is a tool. You can exchange your money for something that is in eternity. You can't take it with you, but you can send it on ahead. What is this treasure that we are building? My name is Michael Lopez. I'm a 2-time InterVarsity alumnus. I'm a certified financial planner specializing in ethical investment strategies for high net worth individuals, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations with Sagestone Wealth Management. Welcome to InterVarsity World Changers.
Michael, welcome to InterVarsity World Changers.
Hey, Todd. Thanks for inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
So glad. You and I have gotten to do a little bit of podcasting together in the past, and I am very excited to have sort of just a different kind of conversation together, to hang out, and honestly, like almost to get to sit as a listener who I know some of your story, but there's lots that I don't know. So I'm excited to just join our listeners, our audience for today, to hear more of your story, your time with InterVarsity, and what God's been doing in and through your life since then. So, Michael, would you just give us a brief introduction, maybe just a brief snapshot of kind of some of the stuff that you're doing that'll maybe indicate where we're going for today, and then we'll keep rolling from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in terms of like my present energy and focus, I am a certified financial planner, a designation that I just recently attained, but work that I've been doing for quite some time. So Sagestone Wealth Management, the company that I'm a part owner of, here in La Jolla, California, we help our clients invest their assets in ways that are informed by their ethics and their morals. And a significant majority of our clients are Christian clients that want to do what they need to do from an investing standpoint, from a saving standpoint, for their financial futures, and want to do so in a way that is consistent with what they know to be true. So they want to have embedded in their lives is the faith that God's been growing in them, and they want that to be reflected in their investments.
I love that, because I mean you've spent a lot of time with this, so I'm preaching to the choir here. But I mean, money has just a really special way of taking hold of our hearts and doing weird things to it. And so having somebody with the level of professionalism and the just like expert knowledge that you have, who is also helping people think about it in a way that's like, how does this line up with the things that Jesus has been telling you about himself and about the way that his kingdom functions? How do we keep those things consistent? That feels like a big win, especially in this day and age where we can sort of divorce the way that we spend our money and the things that we say we believe about Jesus. It feels like it's easy to keep those in separate camps when it shouldn't be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that I love to talk about. Like thinking about money in like different ways, and from a biblical perspective. We know as investment professionals, money it's a tool. It's a great tool. It's a tool that can take many different forms. It's a fungible tool. But when it comes down to it, it's a tool. Like you don't collect money for the sake of money. Like, it's just like, because, at the end of your life, it's just like, well, I had a whole bunch of money, everything, all the toys go back into the box. You may have heard that,
right.
that phrase.
Yes.
But yeah. And, so when I think about money and when I think about it as a tool, when I read scripture, I have this thing that I do where I replace the word money with another tool. So think of a tool.
Like a hammer. That's what comes to my mind first.
I love it. Hammer. I love hammers. I have a great hammer that I use for building homes in Mexico. It's one of my favorite actual tools.
Nice.
But if you have, think of a verse in the Bible. It's like, the root of all evil but the love of hammers is the root of all evil. And you're like, that makes zero sense. Why would I love it? I mean, I really like my hammer, but I don't love my hammer. It's a tool. It's what I use. You cannot serve two masters. You'll love the one and hate the other, be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and hammers. It makes zero sense. No sense at all, of course. Yeah. It doesn't make sense to love a hammer. Why would it make sense to love money? It doesn't. Money, it's a tool, something that we can use for a bunch of other things, but it's not an end in and of itself. And it's definitely not worthy of love. And it's not worthy of serving. You don't serve money. Money serves you. And you serve God. So in that way, through that, through that transitive property, money serves God, not the other way around.
Wow. I love that. I feel like you're giving us some really great indicators of some of the stories you're going to tell as we go along in our time here, and the ways that God's been at work through this financial and investment world that you've been navigating for some time now. Before we get to that though, let's go back in time together for a bit here. You are an InterVarsity alum. Otherwise you wouldn't be here. and so I would love to just hear the story. How did you meet InterVarsity? What was your experience like? Are there one or two particularly just like, these are the moments that make me think this was InterVarsity, and this is what InterVarsity is and has been and always will be in my life. So tell us a little bit of that story.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you may be, bracing yourself for. I kind of go off script a little bit. So, yes, I'll definitely tell you the story about InterVarsity, but just really tell the story about my experience with InterVarsity. Got to go back a little bit further. Back when I was 5 years old. So when I was 5 years old, two things happened. One, I heard a sermon about accepting Jesus into your heart to become a Christian. And so came home from church that day, just sat down in the hallway between the living room and my bedroom, and I prayed that, Jesus, I accept you into my heart. And so great. The other thing that I knew at the age of 5 is I knew what my career was going to be. I was going to be an astronaut. Okay, I was going to be an astronaut. Wow. I had the space shuttle lunch pail and everything.
It's very different than why I asked you to be here, Michael.
Right. So I was like, that was what I was convinced I was going to have happen. Well, it turns out I do not have perfect vision. I have like color blindness, and it's a no-go. Can't be an astronaut. But I also. I just in school had an affinity for numbers and science and things. And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to be an astronaut, but I can be an aerospace engineer. That's what I'm going to do. So since junior high, that's what I was going to do. I was going to go to Caltech. I was going to study aerospace engineering, and I was going to work at JPL. That was going to be my career. And I just want to say, I've met people who work at JPL, and I am extremely jealous. But so after a summer program at Caltech, after my senior of high school, took a course in economics, and that changed everything. That I just fell in love with economics. I said, you know what? This is a big detour in the plan that I thought, my life was going to take. So took this big turn. So instead of, staying close to home, I grew up in Glendale, California. Caltech is just the next city over. Instead, I go across country to the East Coast. I go to a small liberal arts college in Massachusetts, Harvard University, I've heard of. And there, in my freshman dorm, I get a knock on my door by Greg Fung, who ended up being my InterVarsity freshman Bible study leader, and one of the people that has been just the most formative of my faith, just through the inductive method of Bible study the observation, interpretation, and then, of course, the application, which is really big. I'd never been exposed to that before. So the manuscript style of Bible study, I'm a big fan of. Manuscript.bible. I love what that app is, and we've been starting to use that in our home group. But
nice. That's awesome.
So InterVarsity at Harvard, I got to know staff workers like Andy Crouch, Curtis Chang has also been on World Changers, and then my Mark study learned how to lead Mark study by Dakota Pippins, who's also an university person.
Wow!
And then a senior my freshman year, the guys that many of you know, Tom Lynn. Who's just an absolute, just phenomenal, one of my favorite people in the world.
Wow.
So just a lot of just like real big titans. And then you got me just kind of going through this, just really absorbing. But I did say 2-time InterVarsity alum.
Yeah, you did in your intro. You said 2-time. I'm interested.
Yeah. So I worked after college and then decided to get a master's degree. And of course, if going to the school next door wasn't going to work, I had to go, cross country. I decided to go to the other side of the world. I went to the University of Melbourne, Australia to get a master's degree in applied finance. And there I joined the Australian Fellowship of Evangelical Students, also known as InterVarsity Down Under. And my staff worker there, Malcolm Anderson, just one of the most genuine people I've ever met, ever known. We still exchange Christmas emails. Just a wonderful experience to even explore. Again, inductive Bible study in grad school. It was just such a breath of fresh air in a place that's is both familiar and completely different. Australia, they speak English-ish. It was just a great couple of years. But yeah, so InterVarsity sustained me, during grad school as well. And then just to kind of bring forward to where we are now, I returned from Australia to the United States, and then a friend of mine from college called me up and said, "Hey, you want to help me launch an investment company in La Jolla, California?" And I said, "You're twisting my arm, but I guess so." And so that's 2010. That's when Sagestone started.
Okay. 2010, so 16 or so years at this point you've been with Sagestone. And so my understanding, and tell me whether or not this has always been the case, but Sagestone is very much focused on the idea of ethical investing related to your principles and things that you care very much about on a local and global perspective. Excuse me. Has that always been the case? And if so, like, what is it that started to turn your attention toward, those types of investment strategies?
No, absolutely. From day one, like the whole idea of launching Sagestone was to just be able to further develop ethical investing. And now ethical investing, this is something that my business partner, Mary Neighbor, that she wrote about in her Harvard thesis, where she proved, through just rigorous analysis that you can screen a portfolio for ethical concerns and still fully participate in the returns of the market. That's what she wrote her thesis on. And then, after graduation, I was class of 97. She was class of 98 with Campus Crusade. I was working at Merrill Lynch at the time. She called me up and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about getting into the industry. What do you think about Merrill Lynch?" I'm like, well, I found it to be a good kind of training ground. And so I said, hey, I would encourage you to apply. I was up in Oakland, California. And I will let everybody know my timing is significantly different from hers. I started
Okay.
in March of 2000, and anyone that goes to look at the mountain chart of S&P 500, that was the top of the .com bubble, and I rode all the way down.
Oh my
And then
goodness.
Mary, she started at the bottom and rode that up. So it's just significantly better timing. Obviously, 2010, this
Yeah.
is after the global financial crisis. And so this was just a good opportunity. But the whole idea of founding the company, which is Sagestone, was to be able to further the discipline of ethical investing. And so investing our assets, our clients' assets in ways that's informed by their ethics and their morals was something that we were both very passionate about.
Yeah, and I mean, you also mentioned in your intro that at least a portion of your clientele is like fairly high net worth clients. So I mean, we're not just talking about, we're not just talking about like me and my the money that I'm making in ministry and putting it into my 403b and doing that in an ethical way and feeling good about, okay, I'm going to be able to retire. Like, we're talking about people that are making significant amounts of money and helping sort of direct them towards how do we put a significant amount of money into this in a way that is ethical, that you can feel good about the way that these returns are coming back to you down the road. I mean, this is not the small potatoes, John, who you're working with here.
Well, it's interesting that they actually bring that up, because what we do is that we do serve individuals as well as small businesses through their 401ks, their 403bs, and as well as nonprofit organizations. And so in these different areas, there's ways in which we can help in more specific ways that are catered, to those clients. So I actually love doing 401k seminars for participants, because I think that's where there's just a real great benefit from an overall savings perspective. But then even when we are helping small businesses form their list of mutual funds, we talk about ethical investing. And so we actually have some retirement plans that include ethically screened funds in them. And so we've brought this to a level where many more people can participate. For our high net worth individuals, we've just in our industry have just come to find that when individuals have amassed assets to a certain level, they're like, oh, this is kind of serious money here. And what we do with it probably matters. I think we need to talk to someone that can help us with that. So we are fully registered investment advisors. We know the economics. We know the markets. We know how to talk about big concepts like asset allocation and diversification. And we also know how to talk more specifically about, well, what is it that our clients in particular are looking for? It's college planning. If it is estate planning, it is how to pass their assets on to their kids. They just receive an inheritance. What do they do with that? So we can actually, talk through a number of those things. And then as a certified financial planner, I have a more broader certification in terms of understanding how tax, estate planning, and insurance all kind of dovetail together. That doesn't mean that we give tax advice or we leave that for the tax professionals, or estate planning advice. That is for attorneys. But we definitely coordinate with our clients, tax professionals and attorneys, from a more kind of holistic point of view to achieve our clients' goals.
Yeah. Now, Michael, as you're talking about all of these items and the work that you're doing with investment, I know that for you it doesn't just stop with financial investment. I know that you think about this way bigger than just dollars into investment spaces and X number of dollars back in return. Like there's way more to it for you. And I've seen this lived out. Like I know that you've worked with several like InterVarsity chapters and maybe their senior cohorts and helping do some training and speaking into their lives as they think about the next steps of life after graduation. You've joined us on our After 4 podcast and speaking to alumni in that first season of life and sharing a bit about like this is how I encourage you to think about investment and stewardship. And so I wonder, like, what is it beyond the dollars and cents of it all? What is it about investment and stewardship that really ignites your passion? Because I don't know that I've ever met someone that I would say is passionate about and to the degree and in the way that you are when it comes to investment and stewardship. Like, why is that for you?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'm very thankful to the San Diego InterVarsity area. I got to know Kimberly Kettles at the University of San Diego when she was on staff. And she invited me to participate as the person to speak about finance to the senior cohort. And so I kind of looked at the syllabus and, changed it around a little bit just to say, it's like, okay, you know what? I want to be just real upfront and real vulnerable at a place that I think is where InterVarsity is most effective, and that is in this critical time frame of people's lives during college and right as they're exiting college. You're going to go from a place where all of the intentionality that InterVarsity is fantastic at, all the heightened relationship with people that are around your same age, you're going to be going into a completely new situation in a career in churches where it just really opens things up. You're interacting with people of different ages from different walks of life, people that have been working at your job for decades, perhaps even longer than you've been alive. That is so how to actually talk about that. And so when we talk about investing, we think about talking about investing not just in terms of what makes most sense for you and your career, your personal finance for yourself or your family, future family, but then also thinking about eternity. So I absolutely, when we talk about investing, we talk about investing for the short term, medium term, and the long term. But then also we talk about the eternal term. What does it mean to invest in eternity? And I talk with the college seniors about this, is that Jesus says you want to build up treasure in heaven. In the Sermon on the Mount, do not store up treasure on earth, where rust and vermin will destroy and thieves will break and steal. No, instead, invest, build up treasure in heaven. Rust and vermin will not destroy and thieves will not break and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So what does that mean? What does it mean to store up treasure in heaven? And we actually walk through this, that the way that you store up treasure in heaven is you participate in the work that God is doing now. We go through Matthew 25 verses 14 through 30 about the master in the bags of gold with his 3 servants. And we talk about the differences of the servants. And then we get down to the practical thing, talking about your individual budget. And I share my budget. I share my $1997 budget. The numbers are very, very small. But something that you go through the exercise of what does your budget look like? And I make the point that you need to do what God commands you, and that is tithe first. Tithing is important. It's not an optional thing that if you get it right, it's not something that they just did in the Old Testament. But no, this is something that it's good for you. And when we talk about tithing, when we talk about putting our resources towards kingdom work, We talk about this as one of the reasons that God wants us to do this is He's given us everything that we have as stewards. We don't own anything. We don't even own our bodies. We don't own the air in our breaths. God has provided all of this, but He's given us the opportunity to then take what He's provided us and reinvest it in what He's doing. And so by making your charitable contributions to your churches, to mission projects, to missionaries, to nonprofit organizations, you're participating in the work that God's doing, and do it first. Don't do it. And when you do that, it then breaks the power of money over you. That's when you do this, you're like, no. Money is not a god. Money is a tool. Money is something that can be used for other things. And we talk about the heavenly exchange rate, that you can exchange your money that is only here on earth for something that is in eternity. Randy Alcorn talks about this in the Treasury Principle. Short book, recommend it to everybody, is that you can't take it with you, but you can send it on ahead. What is this treasure that we are building? It is the relationships of believers. And the more that we can expand the body of believers, the greater the treasure that we are going to have in eternity. And that's really what it's all about. So, we don't want to be the person that just talks about that, built that big barn and spent all this time to say, great, I've got this big barn. Now I can just take it easy. And Jesus is like, yeah, except this is your last day. You're not going to get to enjoy that barn. But instead, spend your efforts in building the kingdom. I'm definitely very, very, very passionate about that.
Yes. And I mean, when we just stop to think about that, I mean, truthfully, you and I sitting here in this conversation together, we are part of that investment that other people have made. The other alumni who are listening into this conversation, they are some of the dividends of those investments that other people have made, and they are investing themselves and their resources for others and future alumni and down the road and down the road and down the road. And like, what a powerful return to think that I can take this tool that in and of itself is just, essentially meaningless. And, that I can take this and I can turn it into something eternal. Like that is a huge win and a much bigger perspective than I think I oftentimes have when I think about what it looks like for me to invest well or to steward well. That the picture is just so much bigger than what I oftentimes give it credit for.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's God wants to care for us in the future, but He also wants to care for us now. And, God wants to bless us now. And so I want to share something with you, is that I am a big believer in the prosperity gospel.
Oh, no.
Provided that we understand what the currency is. Now, when I think that the general prosperity gospel is God wants to bless you with more and more tools. That's like, well, God may bless us with many tools, but God wants to bless you with real treasure now. He wants to bless you with relationships. Now, that's the prosperity that you have. And I'm super thankful to InterVarsity for blessing me with just some amazing relationships that will be going on ahead into eternity. And I'm just super thankful for the people that I've met. But I'm also thankful for the people that I haven't met. And that is the real magic of this, is that by participating in my tithes. And I have a fairly broad view of tithing, that it is funding your church, missionaries, as we talked about before, nonprofit organizations, and I really believe in InterVarsity because I know the type of returns that InterVarsity is producing now. InterVarsity is great at producing alumni. So I want to get in on that. I want to get in on the ground floor. If you think about like back, for any of those that have watched Forrest Gump, and he gets this letter that someone invested in this little company called Apple, and he's like, whatever. How many of us would have loved to have, had, that investment in Apple? And I don't know, maybe some of us have. We have a number of clients that had invested in companies like this early on that have grown significantly. How many of us would like to also have that now with the work that God is doing, with the currency that God that God's providing us? And so I think that is. So I'm a big investor in InterVarsity, and I encourage everyone to get on the InterVarsity investment train as well.
Absolutely, it's a good investment strategy for sure. A good vehicle for investment. I love that. I love that, Michael. And I wonder, as you think about the experiences that you've had, whether it's people that you've gotten to sort of come alongside and seen the impact that this sort of discipleship or just helping clients who have made these investments, is there a story you can tell about, like, this is the way that I've seen this thinking about stewardship and about investment change someone's life, or I've seen this sort of this thing happen, and here's a story I can tell about it, or even just for you personally, is there a place, whether expected or unexpected, that you say, like, wow, these are the places that I've seen God at work in my own life as I've been engaging with Him in these circles?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the blessings that we have in engaging with our clients is about this eternal investing. And we've had a number of clients that have had some significant things that have happened in their lives. Those that have had significant stock options that they've exercised. Those that have had businesses that they have then sold. Those that have received a significant inheritance. And in these stages, in these events that have happened, one of the things that we'd love to be able to talk about is, how do we help our clients think about these as resources that they can turn into heaven treasure? And so we've had a number of clients that have, opened donor advised funds, which is a way of contributing to charity now that has tax benefits now that you then set up assets for the future. And we can even take assets in a donor advised fund and invest those so that those assets grow, and essentially like create like a personal endowment to benefit the work that God is doing years from now. And so we've been able to come alongside our clients and think through and talk through these things. And some of the things it's straightforward. Other times it's pretty technical. And this is something, where someone who is, a bit of a numbers nerd loves to get into the technical aspect of things. And so that's just a real joy to be able to do that. We've just seen so many assets, so many funds that have flowed through to, meaningful work that God has started in these various different groups. And that's just super, such a blessing for us.
Yeah.
And for me,
that's amazing. Yeah. Please. Yeah. I would love to hear. I'd love to hear about that as well. Ways, if there's things you say, like, man, this is not just for the clients that I work with, but in my life, this is the way that God has continued to develop me as a world changer, has continued to transform me. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where, I've just really got a passion for, in addition to like my local church, which I kind of view as being like a fund of funds, because like I know our church, which here is North Coast Calvary Chapel. My sister-in-law is on staff. Just does amazing work in the church itself, but then also then funds other ministries. And so like, you're getting multiple bangs for your buck, just multiplying the work that God is doing. But then also, in addition to this, I'm also very passionate about missionaries, and I have some very close relationships with some missionaries that are just doing some amazing work in parts across the globe. One of the things that I love about being part of the work that missionaries is, I get to see and experience and account for just like how God is changing things in places, changing people's hearts in places that's very challenging. And I just see just some amazing returns on that. One of my missionary friends, Terry Hewitt, who is a missionary. She was a missionary in China. She is now a missionary in Taiwan. Okay. God gave her a ministry of speaking to women in China. And, just a little context, she comes from Southern California, blonde hair, very Caucasian, speaks impeccable Mandarin because she decided she's going to learn to speak Mandarin so that she could, have this ministry that she named Beauty for Ashes. And she's speaking to women who, because of the one-child policy in China, grew up with being told that they were a disappointment because the one child that their family had wasn't a boy.
Wow.
And she, like Terry, went to China and spoke out against us and said, no, as women, you are not a disappointment. You are a valued treasure. God loves you. And because of this message, just like in her, just wildfire, just the message is spreading wildfire, that so many women were getting introduced to Jesus through the ministry that Jesus gave Terry for this. And I look at this, and I struggle with English, let alone learning to learn. And I look at this, I was just like, wow, this is amazing. And Terry is so generous that she gives me the opportunity to partner with her in the work that God's doing. And I'm like, wow, you let me in on this amazing investment. I'm just super grateful for that, and grateful that God is doing this amazing work.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. So not only do you get the sense that because of the way that God has been shaping your heart in this world of investment and stewardship, not only is it I get to hear stories about this return on investment of women who are coming to Jesus because they are valuable and they're recognizing that through him and his love for them. Not only that, but also just the fact that like it is an opportunity for you to get to be a part of it. That is the joy that she has sort of opened a door for you to get to be a part of something meaningful, just as a result of investing and seeing that is like, both sides are experiencing joy and blessing and the goodness of God because of this relationship through an investment in this way, that has been a powerful experience for you as well.
Absolutely. And this is where I just looked at this, I'm like, hey, this is amazing. I would just encourage everyone to say, God has this for you as well. Like there are, like I could just imagine all of the women in China who have had their lives transformed by Jesus through the ministry that Jesus gave Terry. At some point in eternity, I'm going to meet each of these people, and we're going to be able to fellowship and talk about this. And we're going to, like, just imagine if in heaven someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, John, I really wanted to meet you because the work that you've done caused me to be here." Like, how amazing is that? And that's real. That is absolutely real. It's available. God has that for us. And you can get to the place just like, why wouldn't I want that? Why wouldn't I trade, whatever it is that I have, for that, whatever that is.
Yes.
But yeah, investing in eternity is going to be amazing. You can do that now.
Michael, I'm going to ask you a question that I ask every one of our guests. And every time I ask it, I feel like this is just way too obvious. But I think hopefully that means that we've sort of done our job in over the course of our conversation here. And that's that, would you say that the work, the professional work that you do, but also just the heart work that has been done in you and around you, as far as ethical investment, stewardship, the way that you are helping others view finances and the resources that have been given to us by the owner of those resources. Would you say that this is a place where you get to partner with God in His world-changing work?
Well, I hope. I don't know, John.
That might be a first time somebody said that.
That I would say that rather than an emphatic yes, that it is that the way that I look at this is that God is like, He's the king. He's the owner. He's the boss. Yeah. And so He's the master, and I'm the servant. I apologize. I don't get really emotional about this, but
it's okay.
God's not like, the position is. It's just that God's the master and the servant. But then Jesus comes and says, "You know what? I'm going to change that. I no longer call you servants, but I call you friends." So the amazing thing about this is that, I think partner is it is an aspect, but I would go even further to say that this is a friendship that God has invited me into, and that God invites us all into, where it's not something that is like, okay, hey, we're good, we're done, go home and see you tomorrow, right time when the market opens. But it's something that's like, hey, we did some great work, really, dug our teeth into things. Hey, let's go grab some coffee. Let's go hang out. Let's go snowboarding together. Because our relationship is one not just of work, but it's of one of something so much deeper. And so, yes, being involved in this work, it's a lot of work. It is rewarding, but it is even more so, it's a friendship. And that is something that is, that we get to be friends with clients, which is amazing. We get to go and hang out and have Chinese foods together, and go to sporting events together, because in addition to doing the work that we do, we also enjoy one another, and we are particularly for our Christian clients, we are all in fellowship together with the biggest friend of all.
Yes. What an amazing picture of, that this partnership is not just, this partnership with God is not just sort of two people that are involved in a business saying, okay, we're going to work on this together. And then, it's 5:00 and I'll see you tomorrow. That you say that this work that we get to do is like working alongside a really great friend. And what an awesome opportunity to get to work with your best friend and then to invite other friends in to be a part of it with you. Like, whew, that sounds pretty amazing. And to think about the way that we steward our resources and the way that we lean into God's calling in our lives is a matter of like doing life with my friends. That sounds exactly like what I loved most about being a part of InterVarsity. And so now I get to do it. And now I get to do it with the Lord in my everyday life long after graduation. That's a pretty huge perk.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that we'll just say is that, I knew that, at 5 years old, I wanted to be an astronaut. And you know what? I think a number of us have that astronaut aspiration that we think that we want. And God calls us to be astronauts sometimes. And sometimes he doesn't call us to be that astronaut. But I'm reminded of this story when John F. Kennedy said, we're going to send a man to the moon, and he goes and he tours the NASA facility where they're building the rocket, meeting with the engineers and the astronauts, whatever. And then, as he's going around, he comes upon a janitor, and he asks the janitor, "So what do you do here?" And the janitor's response was, "I'm helping to put a man on the moon."
Wow.
So even if you're not the astronaut, you have a part to play. Sometimes God calls us to be missionaries. Sometimes he calls us to be missionary support. All of them are worthy roles, worthy facets of the God plan that God has. And God knows what he's doing. He knows how he has made you. He knows the plan that he has for you. And even if you think you know better, God will work with you. He'll work with you on that. But ultimately, when we trust God for the path that he has before us, we're not going to be disappointed.
Wow. Michael, thank you so much. What an encouragement to lean in at whatever point in the process God has invited us into, and whatever the role is that he has invited us to take up in this. And thank you for sharing your story, your experiences, and I think also just for giving us a refreshed perspective on, gosh, what does it mean to be managers of the resources that God has given to us, and to steward these well, and to lean into them as not our own, but as belonging to God, but as something really cool that we get to be a part of as friends with God and friends of the ones who are experiencing these things alongside of us. Thank you for joining us today and for telling these stories.
Absolutely. And, John, thank you so much for inviting me. I really enjoy speaking with you, and you just have just this very calm, just easy way, and I feel like I'm talking with just this a really close friend, which you are. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for tuning in, alumni. If you know someone who would enjoy the InterVarsity World Changers podcast, please be sure to share the episode with them. You can also support the podcast by leaving a rating and a review, or by visiting our donation page in the show notes. InterVarsity World Changers is brought to you by the InterVarsity Alumni Relations Team. Hosted and produced by John Steele, production assistance by Mike Centera, and edited by Caleb Leppert. Our theme song is Crazy by InterVarsity alumnus Andy Mineo. Go change that world, alumni.